Hello and welcome to the I Am Woman project, where every week we have deep, thought-provoking and interesting conversations with thought leaders, change instigators, rule breakers and creative minds who think differently, sparking creativity and inspiration. Our special guests on our show cover a variety of topics just for you, and they share their personal stories to inspire, motivate and empower you, our listener. The I Am Woman podcast is produced for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at www.catherineplano.com. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favourite RSS feed or iTunes. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get into the show. Today we have Lane Kennedy, the Bulletproof Coach. Lane speaks to us about the powerful source that resides within us, the mind. Lane has one single intention, and that is to help people. Simple, right? No fame, no glory, no outlandish recognition, simply helping people become better at who they are in the world. Lane has been fortunate enough to spend hundreds of hours learning about hacking our human potential. She was one of the first women to go through Dr. Sarah Godfrey's Hormone Cure Practitioner course, gaining a deeper understanding of the female's delicate hormonal cascade and the many imbalances that occur at any given time. While on her quest to mastering and acquiring more knowledge, Lane became a certified bulletproof coach with fellow biohacker Dave Asprey, which she described as mind-blowing. What this all boils down to is this. Lane has had the opportunity to sit with people from around the world and listen to them unravel and heal from unhealthy lifestyles, watch others gain independence and grow. Lane also helps mothers regain control of their hormones and find balance with many obstacles of motherhood. And that's not all. Lane helps men and women build million-dollar businesses and grow incredible communities. To put it in a nutshell, Lane helps people shift their mindset into being more. So if you haven't tried it yet, supercharge your mind and body with bulletproof coffee while chilling back and tuning into this woman of inspiration. So welcome Lane Kennedy to I Am Woman Project. How are you this morning?
Oh, I'm so good. Thanks for having me, Catherine.
Well, I should be saying today, really, because it's today at your end of the world and it's morning at my end of the world.
Right. Well, I'm midday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's 5 o'clock in the morning here in Melbourne. So, and it's almost winter like today. It's freezing. I don't know why, but it's Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Melbourne is like a box of chocolate. You just never know what kind of day you're going to get.
I think that's kind of like San Francisco as well.
Oh, I love San Francisco.
Yeah, one day the sun is out and it's brilliant, and then the next day it's overcast and drizzle. So it's a little bit of, it's a box of chocolates.
You know, I actually, when I was doing my travels in the US, when I went to San Francisco, I actually thought San Francisco was a close city to Melbourne in the US.
Yeah, actually a lot of my colleagues and friends have said the same thing. And that's why it's on my radar of like, I need to just go be there and compare it, see how it is.
Oh, you'll have to come and stay when you come over.
Yes.
So Lane, just for our listeners, let's unpack Lane Kennedy and give us a little bit of insight into who you are and what you do.
Well, that's a big question. It's a long story and we don't have all day, but I'm going to share the condensed version of, well, first and foremost, I'm a mom. I have a 7-year-old and I joke about how he kind of runs my life. Honestly, I had no idea how this would be. But he's the center of my world, and he was a miracle child. About 22 years ago, I was diagnosed with an immune condition, and I was told that I would never have any kids. I didn't have to worry about that. And lo and behold, I know the doctors were wrong. I was able to cure myself, and I have a 7-year-old. Um, and I think that's where I can kind of start is that, a long time ago, I was really, really sick, and nobody knew what was wrong. Nobody knew what was happening. And that's not what you want to hear from your doctor. You don't want to hear, I don't know, right? When you go to a medical doctor, you want to hear, yeah, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to fix you. And so when I started hearing, we don't know why your white blood count is so low, we don't know why this is happening, it kind of made me look at the medical system a little bit differently. And, I grew up, I was born in the 60s. I'm a hippie kid here in the States. And lucky for me, I kind of went off the grid and started doing my own kind of my health investigation. And I was lucky enough to find a doctor who helped me, a naturopath, helped me uncover my illness and find wellness. And so over the years, I've been way ahead of the curve. People talked about, why aren't you eating bread? And I would say, because I'm gluten-free. And they thought that I was a total weirdo. And, this is, again, in a time back in the 80s and 90s when nobody was talking about how the body was actually working and properly functioning. And so for me, it's been this very long path of educating people and talking to my doctors and finding practitioners that would help me along the way. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I also, I come from the fashion industry and I modeled for a long time. So for me to get sick and to lose my career and to put my career on hiatus was a very sad, sad story. But what that did is it catapulted me into business. And I became a business consultant and strategist for many years. And what happened, Catherine, is that I got really sick again and my body started falling apart again because I wasn't taking care of myself that I had done, 20 years ago when I had met that naturopath. And so again, I was kind of faced with, you need to change. And I know that I don't like to change unless I am up against the wall and I have to. And I got to that place where I had to make those changes again that were pretty serious. I had to put my life back in order, had to put I had to put this hustle, this entrepreneurial, I got to make it happen. I had to put that to rest. And it was really hard to do because I was so focused on, well, that's going to define who I am. Being a professional, and I'm doing the air quotes right now, being a professional and being a consultant and making, 6 figures every year and that flying all over the country and the world, that's all important. But meanwhile, I was literally falling apart again. And so what happened is that I went on hiatus for about 2 years and redefined myself and became this really, for me, it's, I'm a wellness advisor and I focus on helping women find sleep. Because when we are sleeping as women, we take care of ourselves. It's innate. And what I had forgotten to do when I was hustling and running the world, so to speak, my world, right? I wasn't sleeping because I wasn't taking care of myself. So now I'm really focused in on a wellness I'm a wellness advisor. I'm a certified bulletproof coach, and I change people's lives. I don't know how else to say it.
So, and I'm, as we were speaking a little bit before we got onto the show, sleep is one of those things that I struggle with. And I think it's one of those things that I always say, oh, it's menopause. But I know there's a lot of women out there that around my age that have got the same experiences where they are not sleeping well, and then during the day come about 2:00, you're struggling with energy. So then you're craving for sugar because your body's searching for where am I going to get that next hit so I can continue on the rest of my day. how do you help these women out? I'm asking for myself, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there going, I'm putting my hand up here too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what all my clients, right? It's like 2:30, 3:00, they're reaching for chocolate, right? Chocolate and coffee. Like that's the daily deal. That's every single client I have. That's kind of their routine. It's like, okay, I'm totally burnt out. I'm awake at 2:00 in the morning and I'm reaching for coffee at 3. And when they get to me, it's really, we have to assess the lifestyle. Like myself, right? I had to go back to, let's look at our lives. What are you doing? And we look at the nutrients that you're taking in. Because if you're not feeding yourself, it's not going to happen. Because when we look at our food regulates our hormones. I'm going to say that again. Our food regulates our hormones. So what we're eating directly relates to how we sleep. So if we're not nourishing ourselves, then we're not going to be sleeping that great, especially as we age gracefully, especially as we age and we get into that next phase of our lives. It's so important to really nurture ourselves as we age gracefully.
So what would be some of those, for our listeners and for myself, for those that are going through that, what would be sort of give us an example of a daily diet?
A daily diet. So absolutely eating breakfast in the morning, like eating breakfast.
Oh, see, I never do that.
Right. So there's two ways that I can address this. Is like you can do intermittent fasting 3 times a week, and then you have to eat, 4 days a week, right? Because I'm pro IF in the sense for longevity and for your mind and just for your body overall. But you have to be eating because you don't want to have your system kind of break down if you're not eating every day. So breakfast is a must. And my breakfast typically looks something like, so for me, I don't eat eggs and I don't do dairy. Mm-hmm. So people are like, oh my God, then what do you eat, Lane? So I go into having some kind of like a chia porridge bowl or avocado. Mm-hmm. I do avocado toast a lot. My son, who can have eggs, or my husband, they can both have eggs. Well, I'll do eggs and bacon and delicious sprouts. Like I grow sprouts, and we'll put some broccoli sprouts on there or some radish sprouts to give a little bite to it. And then I drizzle olive oil and then sprinkle some sesame seeds on there. Right. Yeah. So I'm getting some really nutrient dense food first thing in the morning. And I always make sure that I'm getting, avocado, some fat. So olive oil or a couple of macadamia nuts I throw in there. If I have a gluten-free, bread, I will put on some sun butter just so I'm making sure to get some fat because I want my brain needs that fat. It needs it to kind of jumpstart the day. And I always make sure, we talk a lot in the Bulletproof, because I'm a Bulletproof coach, we talk a lot about bulletproof coffee. And most people drink coffee in the morning. I don't. But everybody needs that kind of jolt in the morning to get them up and running. And so we do a lot of, if you can tolerate dairy, like a whole cream, or putting butter in your coffee, or putting an MCT oil into your coffee. Just again, to get that really rich nutrients to get your brain into gear. Because that kind of morning start, that beginning, sets you up for the rest of your day. Right? So if you're starving yourself first thing in the morning and you're just running off of black coffee, your hormones are going, help me, help me, help me. And they're freaking out and they're sending a signal to your brain, and your brain's going, oh, I don't know what to do. And then there's chaos and confusion. And that's when you say, I don't know where my glasses are. Where did I just put my keys? And they're in your hand, right? So that morning kind of breakfast, kind of that food nutrient dent is so important. And then for lunch, I love eating, lots of fiber, salads with protein, more fat in the mix. I usually advise my clients to have a handful of nuts around 3 o'clock. And then at dinner time, it's depending on if you've been fasting or how much fat you've taken in, how you're regulating, how you're burning if you're exercising. I always share with my clients to really indulge in, really great protein. So some fish. I love fish as a dinner, at night, and greens. It's like, so if you had your plate, and I would love to see your plate at like 2/3 vegetable, and then, a little bit of protein, and then you could do a sweet potato or a white rice. And then on those veggies, I want to see lots of butter. I want to see, flavor. Because who wants to eat like just boring spinach?
Yeah, true.
Right? Like nobody does. You want flavor on there. So don't be afraid of eating or indulging, butter. Like put it on there, or hot, olive oil. You could put some chili flakes. Just make it taste good.
Lane, you're making my mouth water because I haven't had. And when I say I don't have breakfast, I can't eat first thing in the morning. But 10 o'clock, so I listen to my body. At 10 o'clock, my body goes, feed me now. So then I'll have eggs and nuts, or sometimes avocado. But I eat very similar to what you're talking about, because my husband also follows Dave Asprey, and I can't remember all of the names, but he does the MCT in the morning, and his coffee and the butter, lots of butter. I can't do it personally. I can't have coffee on an empty stomach, and I probably have my coffee in the afternoon. But yes, it's I do eat very much to what you're saying right now. So for those that maybe are very aligned to me and still have problems sleeping, what other advice would you give them?
Well, you just said you had coffee in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that right there tells me that you're not sleeping at night.
Yep. Right.
Yeah. So again, caffeine it finds its way into our lives because the brain goes into survival. Right? It'll be like, how am I going to get that? I need to stay awake. And I know that cup of coffee is going to give me it. Right? Or that, somebody will have a caffeinated soda pop, or, I had a client the other day drinking this, what looked to be like an organic soft drink, but it was all shot up with caffeine. And she was like, oh my gosh, this has caffeine. And she's nursing a baby, she's like, oh my gosh, I can't be drinking this. It's like, you have to really pay attention nowadays to what, commercial products are out there, what people are making. They do really great packaging.
Yeah, no, true. And I think for me, it's like I avoid sugar. Well, I crave it. And when I do crave it, I have things like maybe a piece of fruit or honey. But I know that my brain, you're exactly right. It does crave the coffee just to get that kick to get through the afternoon. When in actual fact, that's probably exactly, and I don't do it every day. I actually went through a phase where I didn't drink caffeine for many years, but just recently got back into it slowly because I can have a little bit of coffee as long as it's good coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. It's having good coffee. Yeah. Because you don't want to be drinking yucky. It just makes you feel bad.
Oh yeah, you get the jitters. If you can tell when there's coffee, and my husband taught me that when you get really good organic coffee, it makes a big difference to how you feel after you've had the coffee. So you don't, running around like, with the jitters or anything. So I'm always conscious and I make sure that I have good coffee. And I love the smell of coffee too. And it's one of those things. I just love coffee. So Lane, are you saying that for anyone, and especially for women who are going through menopause, to avoid caffeine altogether?
Oh, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, it depends on the quality of life you want to live, right? When we're in menopause and we're aging gracefully, it's like, what are the choices? Like we have a bunch of choices that we want to make, right?
Yeah, true.
And so it comes down to, what are the choices that you're making in your life? Do you want to be struggling every day? Well, okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
Totally
true.
fine. Do you want to be present with your kid? They might need help with homework, or do you want to be irritated with them, right? Like, what are your choices going to be? So, yeah, I feel like caffeine is a very tricky substance. I mean, it's a drug, right? It's a psychoactive. It changes the way that our brain operates. And that's one of the reasons why I love being a bulletproof coach, is that, I really get into the science behind all of these things that we're putting into our bodies. I get into the research of like what makes us work.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, Elaine, I'm going to ask you, what inspires you to do what you do?
Well, I was broken. I mean, honestly, me being broken for so long and then having this kind of awareness and realizing that as I was consulting, for all those years, and all my friends and all my colleagues were constantly asking me how to change or how to fix things or how to feel better, right? Like that has been my kind of path, that people would come to me for an answer. And, I just kind of pushed it to the side, And then I just woke up with this like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm doing. And I'm seeing results with people, right? Like, I'm seeing people sleep. I'm seeing people be happy. I'm seeing people not have mood swings and want to get divorced anymore. I'm seeing people like have fulfilling relationships. I'm seeing people's families change. Like, when I started seeing that happen, like saving a client $150,000 because her brain was put back together again, because we worked on a program that fed her and put her to sleep. So she didn't lose $150,000. She actually gained a company back. Right? So those those are powerful moments that I've drawn from. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is awesome. this is totally what's happening in people's lives as a result of like just me giving them some ideas and suggestions.
Right.
It's not rocket science.
No. And so, Lane, it sounds like upgraded woman, you kind of fell into it because you just, people coming to you on a regular basis asking for your assistance. And this is how you got into it. Working with women.
Pretty much.
It was meant to be.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody, it's so funny is that my friends or, the past, 20 years, people were like, hello, why didn't you start doing this 10 years ago? Like, why? Hello, this is exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah. So, Elaine, through the whole experience, your adventure, and through the journey, what were some of the greatest lessons that you had learned along the way?
Greatest lessons. I think listening and giving myself the time, like I had mentioned earlier, I had took those 2 years off and I gave myself that time. So really having the practice of listening, that was a huge lesson, just stopping and listening.
And so when you're saying that, so in that 2 years, did you do a lot of meditation? How did you stop to listen more? Did you do reading, research? What was that time that you invested in that 2 years on yourself?
Yeah. So I went on a lot of walks. I lived by the Presidio here in San Francisco. And so I would walk in the Presidio and just listen. I would listen just either with music or classical music, or I would listen to a podcast. I would just be quiet. Right? I would just be quiet. And simultaneously, I started studying more and learning more about the body and the brain. And things just started connecting more easily. Like I hear a lot of people talking about how things kind of open up, right? Like I feel like things just started opening up much more easily, and the dots started connecting effortlessly. And it was because I wasn't forcing myself to do anything. I was just being in my body, in the world. I mean, it would get to be like I would walk through the Presidio and pay attention to the bees. That's how intentional I was about taking this time off. Like, what am I going to find today? What am I going to smell today, right now? And for somebody like me, who's type A personality, who is go, 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 this was extremely challenging and painful sometimes. Like I was like broken, like, why is this happening? What am I doing? And through that time, I was like, wow, there's so much more to me as a human being, and to me personally, than just building businesses and flipping them and fixing problems in a business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you find that now that with your business, how do you go about, because obviously you took the 2 years off, you did some research, soul searching, and now you have your own business. How do you find yourself, because I know from my own experience, for example, I also got burnt out, and I love doing what I do, and it sounds like you're very passionate and you love what you do. How do you create that fine balance where, because I find myself, I might say, I love this so much, I don't feel like I'm working a day in my life. And that could be a trap in itself, because then you find that you get caught up in this vortex of helping all of these people, and then all of a sudden you feel tired or burnt out. So how do you have this really fine balance where you're not going to go back to that burnt out lane that you once experienced?
I play. I don't know how else to make time.
I like that. You play.
I play. I plan. I plan play in my life. Like I know that I'm meeting with a girlfriend, excuse me, or I'm going on a trip. So I kind of schedule playtime into my life now. So I'm not head down helping clients go, 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 go. Because I know where that leads me. It leads me to being broken, not sleeping, not a good mom, definitely not a good wife. So the more that the more energy that I put into playing and planning and having fun, I don't get burnt out.
And that's a big piece, isn't it? Having fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Lane, we always ask, for our women of inspiration and women that are in business, we all have pain points. What would be some of your biggest pain points in your business?
Pain points. Well, because I love what I do, there is that element of like, this doesn't seem like work.
Yeah.
Right? This doesn't seem like work. And so, sometimes I will, I don't even know if this is a pain point now that I'm like talking out loud with you, but there's like, okay, I will have a client after, like I'll have 3 clients in a row. And because I'm so invested in that first client, and because we're just on the precipice of change, then we'll go 10 minutes over into the next session. Right. And so my scheduling is a pain point.
Yeah.
That's a real pain point for me, of like being super mindful of, okay, I'm on the brink of change with this one client, but I know that I have another client. How do I, because you never know when somebody's going to hit that moment of change. Right. So how do I kind of navigate that? That's my biggest thing that I'm kind of working around right now.
Yeah, I can relate to that one. I think that sometimes when you're actually going through a coaching session with someone and they're actually going through a breakthrough,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got a client in 15 minutes, yeah, you can't go, sorry, time is up. You have to
No.
continue. And so I think a solution for me, what I did, because I was finding that that was a recurring pattern,
Mm-hmm.
I actually added a bit of buffer. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if I had a 45-minute session, I'd give myself 15, 20-minute, uh, you know, in between the next
Mm-hmm.
coachee, so that I wouldn't fall into that trap of, because that was one of my pain points actually as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tricky. It's tricky. It's just tricky.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, Lane, what do you think is the number one reason most individuals fail to succeed in business?
Lazy. They get lazy.
Lazy. So how do you,
I think
get over this laziness? How do you break through this roadblock?
I think people get lazy and they get frustrated and they give up because they don't get what they want when they want it.
Yeah.
I feel like people have these expectations of like, oh, I should be making this amount in this amount of time and this is how it should look. And in reality, things take a lot of time, 3 times as much time as you think they're going to take. And that is for everything. You're going to bake a cake, it's going to take 3 times as long as you think it is. Um, yeah, I think that's,
And I think what you're saying too, it's about being aware of it, isn't it? Like if you are lazy, for example,
mhm.
or the opposite, actually, it's about actually seeing it, and once you see it, then it's easy to work with. But it's amazing how people actually don't see it. And like you say, they procrastinate, and it's a
Mhm.
unconscious habit. And then they actually get stuck, and then, they don't get over that roadblock.
Right.
And this has
Yeah.
impact.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
So, Lane, we always ask our woman of inspiration to describe one word that best describes your personal brand. So, what would be that one word for you, Lane?
Perseverance.
Perseverance. I can see
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah, perseverance.
Is that just something you were born with, or is that something that you, I guess, practiced to the point where you're persevering all the time now?
I didn't even know that this word existed. I just thought it was a way of being. And then somebody said, Lane, this is how you live your life. So it's just who I am, right? I am overly ambitious and I'm going to find a solution for you. I'm going to put it together and it doesn't matter how long it's going to take me. I'm committed like that, like perseverance and committed are very hand in hand for me.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Lane, as we wrap up the show, we always ask our woman of inspiration to share 3 golden nuggets for our listeners. So, what would be those 3 shiny golden nuggets that you would like to share with our listeners today?
Well, I think, I've mentioned them. It's like just getting your food in order because your food is so related to your mood and how you walk about in the world.
Hmm.
Right. So getting that in alignment and then taking time out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm pro take time out of your day every day for you.
Mm.
And then the last one is really, it's practical. It's read more books,
Mm.
like old fashioned, get out the book, read the pages.
Yeah, I love that one. And even if you don't have time to read books, like me, sometimes I love audiobooks or, I listen to podcasts as well. I find that they're really educational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what would be one of your
Absolutely.
favorite books?
Let's see. Oh God, I'm reading this one right now. Well, which one do I want to, there's so many. The Creative Brain is a really great book. When Things Fall Apart is a good book. My goodness. The Dead Circus is a great book. I mean, it just depends on
Yeah.
my mood, I guess. Those are my top right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Lane. I'll look those up. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. How will our listeners find you?
They can go over to the upgradedwoman.com, and if they want to grab the sleep guide, they can go in and get What Can I Do to Get More Sleep? And that'll come up. So the upgradedwoman.com, What Can I Do to Get More Sleep?
Thank you so much, Lane. I'll look into that myself. And have an amazing day.
Thanks so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too. That brings us to the end of another episode. I hope you enjoyed the show, as it is my mission to reach out and inspire as many individuals like you. And one of the best ways to help us achieve this goal is by giving us a good review on iTunes. It's easy and it only takes about 10 seconds. If you have any questions or special guests that you would like to hear from, please send us an email to support@catherineplano.com.au and we will get right back to you. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook @Catherine Plano. That's it for now. Thanks for listening. Until next week, please take care.